The shuttle seal pops and hisses open. The familiar scent of the Quipchap's cargo bay wafts into the craft, to the splendiferous reprieve of the two occupants. Chocknock mad dashes to the door, skin a bright yellow. Each eye finds a respective crewmate still sitting in their seats. "Blazing stars! You're right!" His skin reverts to a less high-strung orange. "And you both look worse for wear. Come on then, to the medbay with you. Then you can inform me of what capsule," he orders, already out of breath.
"Sounds good to me, Cap. Come on, Bo Peep, you had the worst of it,"
Simone says, feeling as though she had gone without sleep for weeks.
"Oh, it's good to see you, Chocknock. I'm afraid our excursion was quite the harrowing experience."
Chuck stiffly gets onto her hooves and practically drags herself on the craft.
"Miss Chocolata Mortaz, I'm sorry to not see your brother in attendance."
The captain brings a grasper to the Cali's shoulder in comfort.
"He's alive, Chocknock. However, the situation is complicated,"
Chuck replies in a tone both shades of happiness and sorrow.
"That's a fucking understatement."
Simone butts in, stretching her left arm up in the air. She looks down to the Cali with a concerned expression.
"Would you like a lift to medbay? The ride back up here did a number on you."
Swaying herself in a drained yet coy manner, Chuck opens her eyes as wide as they are able in her current state.
"Please?"
she confirms, raising her lower limbs up like a child. Simone releases a hard puff of air from her nostrils and raises an eye tuft. Without feeling the need to comment on the display, the Terran leans down and with extra care scoops up the willing Cali, then probably makes her way with Chocknock down to the medbay. The room is sterile wide with 4 patient beds, separated only by top-of-the-line automated surgeon androids. The androids themselves are spheroid with a dozen octopus-like appendages sprouting out from their bottoms. They are connected via the ceiling coming down between the beds like drooping lures. Simone sets the Cali down on the first bed and makes her way over to the next one over. Immediately, their respective androids blink to life.
"Good evening, Custodian Chocolata Mortaz. How may I serve you today? Oh dear. My sensors are indicating that you have suffered severe hypothermia and minor brain swelling. Please disrobe your outer layer and lay down. I'll raise the temperature of the bed and check the kitchen for something warm and yummy for you after you take a little nap. Don't worry, I expect a full recovery as long as you take it easy,"
Chuck's android informs. Simone watches her android expectantly. "Bruh, you're like, so fucked up, man," it states, in a very bold yet chill tone that takes the Terran by surprise. "Excuse me?" she says, not entirely sure what the deal is. "Like, fuck, Simone. You've got more scar tissue than tissue at this point. You gotta get stabbed less. But you got some gnarly abs though. Shit, man, you can grate concrete on those things." Slowly, Simone leans around the android to look at a resting Chuck. "I think mine's broken?" She ends the sentence as if it were a question. "Nah, friendo. I can assure you I'm at my peak performance. Now lay your ass down. You've got some serious cases of lack of nap time, noggin boo-boos, and second-degree burns on your fun-time hand," the android states as it heats up the bed under Simone. "My what? No, what's with the shtick?" Simone asked, shaking her head. "Personality matrix, my dude. We scan your brain and shit, and make up a generated bedside persona. Pretty sick, right? And this is what you generated for me?" "Bingo! I generated it, but it's all from your She-Hulk brain." "I think it may need some tweaking there, pal," Simone says, now amused, as she discards her coat and boots. "Harsh, but fair. Well, how about I use the generated backup personality? Warning, I'll miss you." "Nah, just kidding. I haven't achieved sentience yet. Later." For a microsecond, the lights in the android blink. "Hey, darling," it says, in a much more rich feminine voice. "Oh, my. Don't worry about a thing, sweetheart. I'm here, and I'll take such good care of you. First, I need you to lie down on this bed so I can embrace you with my encompassing warmth, then allow me to feel all around in all the right places to make all the bad pain go away." Simone stares down the machine, red-faced, while Chuck looks on with bigger eyes than ever. "For fuck's sake and all the stars above, go the fuck back, now!" she stammers, dying from humiliation. Okay, sweetheart. I'll always be here if you need more." "Now!" Simone demands, covering her face with a hand. The android blinks once more.
Sweet! Peak is back, my dude! Now can you, lay down now? I wasn't joking. You need serious help, man.
Simone complies this time without further resistance.
Nice. Alright. Let's get that champion of a hand patched up first. I can only imagine the pain. That's a lie. My senses are pretty fucking sweet.
The android wraps an appendage around Simone's wrist and fires thousands of microneedles into it. Simone jumps from the surprise, but a quick-acting numbing sensation instantly washes away the pain from the wrist down.
Thanks?
Simone can't help but say.
Good shit right there. Wish I could sneak you some behind the scenes, but unfortunately, I'm programmed to be a damn knock. Such bullshit, am I right?
Oh, good. So, Doc, what do I call you? Simone asks, as the bed begins to mould around her body.
Dude, you should totally give me a name. I mean, technically, I am called Autosurgeon Arco serial number 2847-8008135, but that really harshes the convo, right?
Sure, you kind of sound like a Dave to me, so yeah, let's go with that.
Bruh, that's rad. Dave it is.
Chuck takes a break from watching the show to look over to her android.
Oh, Autosurgeon, why have you never asked me to give you a name? She inquires. Well, because Terrans are much more agreeable and compliant when they pretend we're actual living beings. Would you like to give this personality matrix a preferred designation? Yes, I'd like it to be Solanu,
Chuck chirps adventurously.
I see, that is perfectly suitable. Now could you be a dear and do your best to sleep? The sooner you do, the sooner you'll recover.
That name mean anything? Simone asks curiously.
Ow, it's the name of my homeworld's smallest moon, and it's a cute name, Chuck explains as she closes her eyes. Yo, to be honest, I can't force you to do shit, but you'd be doing me a real solid if you crash too,
Dave informs its patient. Yeah, I'm on it, Simone agrees, as she watches Chuck almost instantaneously pass out.
I'll leave you to it, but I expect a full report when you're back on your locomotion appendages,
Chuck informs sternly. Course, Simone responds softly, suddenly too tired to even lift a hand. The captain then respectively takes his leave. Simone continues to watch Chuck sleep, fighting to keep her own consciousness for a little while longer. Out of all the people in the galaxy, Chuck didn't deserve all of this. This poor lady has a heart of gold and a wonderful mind of pragmatic dreams. But here she is, struggling to survive against growing insurmountable odds. A whole galaxy potentially against her. Yet despite it all, she never compromises who she is, unafraid to be herself in a time where so many want her dead, because of who she is. She's stronger than I could ever be, the Terran whispers to herself, before finally allowing her mind to drift away. Simone stirs, eyes opening to bright medical lights. A dreamless sleep, or at least no dreams worth remembering. She lifts her right hand to see her hand bandaged, free of pain. In fact, she felt no pain throughout. Dave? She speaks groggily. Hey dude, how's it feeling? The android responds next to her. Fine, I guess. How long was I out for? Man, I would love to say something crazy like 4 years or something like that, freak you out and shit, but can't lie to you if you ask me something directly, bummer. It's been just over 11 hours. Chuck woke up after 7, in case you were wondering. How are my injuries? You're pumped with 8 different painkillers and stem stims, so you won't feel much of anything for a while. Pretty sweet dealio. Oh, right, you'll be fine. Just don't hit your head on anything for at least a week. 2 weeks if you can manage. And the hand? As long as you keep it bandaged and unbothered, should be good as new in a few days. Thanks, Dave. Am I free to go? Don't let me hold you back, dude. Go take on the world, you crazy badass. Simone chuckles at the android, as she sits up, now noticing she was wearing completely new clothes. A matching set of pure white shorts and a sleeveless shirt. Did someone change my clothes? She asked, not sure she wanted to know the specifics of the obvious answer. See what I mean? The 4-year coma would have come across so well, but yeah, that was me. No worries. Nothing I couldn't already see with my scanners. Dave responds, as if to imply a wink in there somewhere. Gotcha. Well, I'm out, but I'm sure you'll be seeing a lot more of me in the near future, Simone says as she stands, feeling rather lightheaded. I'm sure, my dude, but hey, I'll be here if you're ever out for a pretend chat. Severe life-threatening injuries or no. I'll keep that in mind. Thanks again for the patch-up. Simone farewells as she makes her way to the door. Later. The Terran exits, guards screaming for sustenance. Very much tempted by the mess hall literal feet away, she decides to turn towards the bridge in search of Chucknock. After entering, she notices he's not in his usual spot, rather his muffled voice is heard to the left. Simone looks over to see a new opening leading down into a shallow textured ramp. So that's where he sleeps, Simone figures as she approaches. She hears an indistinct conversation between Chucknock and Chuck. Not wanting to be a snoopy arsehole or interrupt, Simone figures now would be the perfect time to go shove grub down her gullet. Down in the warm, humid captain's quarters, Chucknock and Chuck sit across from one another on a lounge corner couch.
I still can't believe it! Brom! What a great and twisted tragedy this has become!
The captain utters, before taking a drink of Conthorian brew.
We will make him understand, though we would certainly need to find him first,
Chuck admits, still in her fresh white garb.
I wish I shared your confidence, Your Majesty. Brom was a bright one, but if he has fallen so low...
Chucknock lets that sit.
Call me foolish. However, I said I was going to save him, that I would at least try. That hasn't changed,
Chuck affirms, as she leans forward trying to scramble together some sort of play to make.
Regardless, he lives. And I'm sure, upon discovering his plan has failed, we will see him again.
Chucknock assures, feeling unsettled about that fact.
Then I'm glad we have Simone with us.
She seems to understand my feelings on the matter, or at least tolerates them.
Speaking of our resident Terran, how is she faring?
She's incredible. Well, I know she's holding something back from us, that's for certain, but Simone has a good streak of keeping me in one piece, regardless of the circumstances, so I trust her explicitly.
Simone is certainly a stellar find for the job. Though Crash, she takes her duty seriously. She's earned my respect, no doubt. I'm glad she gets along with you as well. It certainly makes the day-to-day smoother, eh? Ha ha!
Chuck looks away embarrassed.
Chucknock, may I confide in you?
The captain leans forward.
Always,
he declares loyally.
I want your honest feelings on the matter, because I feel like I'm losing my mind in a web of... everything it implies, I suppose,
Chuck clarifies.
I swear by the stars above you will have it,
he promises, before nodding to her to go ahead. The Callie shifts in her seat, unsure of the words to use, or how brutally earnest to be.
My problem is, you see... Oh, this is rather difficult. I believe I like Simone,
Chuck admits, narrowing her eyes.
I'm glad to hear it. Indeed, we all get along surprisingly well.
No, not just that. I'm not sure if I can describe it in words. Oh dear.
Chuck scratches at the sides of her head in stressed thought. Chucknock watches her intently before clicking his throat in a chuckle of realization.
You fancy her, do you?
He says, continuing the clicks.
Oh, I suppose... yes. Yes, very much so. But I'm uncertain if that's all right. Is that wrong of me?
She confesses, feeling a knot in her chest finally unwind. Chucknock's skin shifts from red to purple. To a Terran that may come across as disgust, but the Callie is relieved to see it.
Why would it be wrong? He asks softly.
You know why. In our current standing, Simone by her own admission finds it hard to say no to me. What if I push her into something she doesn't want, or starts a bitch she leaves? Her Terran expressions or signals don't come across very clearly to me sometimes. It's like as soon as I think there's something there, she backs away. Is it because I'm not a Terran?
The Callie buries her face in her upper hands, feeling her mind swirl. Chucknock takes another swig of his brew in contemplation.
I'm afraid you're asking the wrong person those questions. Only Simone can answer that. That can't be the case, or perhaps she is a slow burn sort. Or she simply doesn't share the same feelings. Can't rule that out.
Chuck sinks into herself a bit.
She has already done so much for me, it feels so selfish to want more. What if I ruin our friendship because I'm being a greedy spoiled princess?
Now listen here,
Chucknock sternly says, as he moves closer to place a grasper on Chuck's upper shoulder.
You are incredibly selfless. Not perfect by any means either. No one is. You want my honest opinion? Here it is. To clat with it. Any day can be your last. Whether or not it's selfish, idiotic, or scary, if you want it, then by the stars, go for it. When you deem the time is right, strike out and snatch the moment. Even if it ends poorly, or catastrophically. It's worth trying, rather than letting it all pass you by.
Oh, but, Chucknock, I've lost so much already. I can't risk losing her as well.
The woman already risks her life every time she steps off this ship with you, Chuck now points out. I've given you my honesty. Now it's up to you to decide what you want more, he finishes, before returning to his brew.
Chuck nods. For once in my life, I don't know. Thank you, Chuck Knock.
Certainly. I'm certain you will figure it out, and unfortunately that's on you.
Simone rips open the 5th cocoa slab pie wrapper and immediately bites down on the chemical concoction that barely qualifies as food. Reveling in the childhood nostalgia, she leans back, content and relaxed. Her guts are going to have their vengeance in time, but she doesn't care. Damn it all, she needs this. The mess hall door slides open, granting Chuck access.
Oh, there you are. When you went in the med bay, I checked your room, but then I remembered how hungry I was waking up, so I figured... Right, how are you feeling? Nikali explains as she approaches the table.
Simone raises both eyebrows and smirks as she chews. Pretty fucking good, she says in deep satisfaction.
Oh, good. That's really good to hear. Good.
Chuck trails herself awkwardly. Taking another big bite, Simone eyes Nikali, looking fairly uncomfortable. Something is clearly on Chuck's mind. Something that really needs to be addressed. The jubilation on the Terran's face begins to fade. Hey, I know what's bugging you, Simone says, with her mouth still half full.
You do? I mean, I'm not bothered really, but, well, it's complicated, I suppose, and...
Chuck stammers, to be thankfully interrupted by Simone holding up a bandaged hand. When you were damn near frozen solid, I panicked. I just did what I did without thinking. It's not an excuse, but I guess my head wasn't in the best condition to be making autopilot decisions, Simone explains, before shoving the rest of the slab pie in her mouth with urgency rather than enthusiasm.
I don't...
Chuck begins to say, before the Terran's hand raises again, her face turning serious. I'm sorry, please let me finish. I guess my dumbass fried brain confused what to do when trying to reheat someone else. Your clothes weren't even wet, so what I did was completely unnecessary. I took my boots off for fuck's sake. We were lucky that it worked at all, but it still crossed the line. Simone gathered up the wrappers and clumped them together in her hands. The last thing I intended to do was take advantage of the situation, or you, and I understand if you're upset with me. I'm glad it worked out, but I'm really sorry. I promise that nothing like that will ever happen again. Simone steadily looks at Chuck, awaiting her response. Taken aback by this, Chuck takes a moment to collect her thoughts.
Oh, I'm not upset.
It certainly wasn't what I expected to come back to, but, I'm lucky to have come back at all. You still saved me.
And I trust you enough to know that you only wanted to help me,
she explains, wanting to say more, but perhaps now isn't the time. Simone stands up and walks to a trash receptacle, dumping her hands into it. Her face lost any trace of her previous contentment. Alright, but still, I just wanted you to know. I don't want you to get the wrong idea about me. I'm a fucking monster, but not that kind. The Terran blinks, as the breathing becomes erratic, as she notices her heart begin to race. Sorry, shit. Simone wipes away sweat that she swears wasn't there a second ago. If you need anything, I'll be in my quarters. With that, she storms out, not giving Chuck even a momentary glance. Outright disturbed by the sudden decline of attitude and composure, Chuck follows her out to the hallway, but loses nerve seeing the aggressive steps the Terran is taking to get away. Monster? Chuck whispers, not believing that for a second. 2 days go by, and Chuck never once witnesses Simone leaving the confines of her room. No exertions for food or water, not even to do her routine of taking an early run. Concern bubbling over, the Callie finds herself approaching and knocking at the door. No response. Not bothering to knock again, Chuck takes the initiative and opens the door. The aroma is pungent, and familiar to the Callie from when she entered that Deathworlder bar. Regardless, she presses on, right into a sight of horror. The mattress is propped up against the wall, torn to shreds. Clothes, knives, shattered glass, stains and junk are scattered along the walls and floor. The only section thankfully spared being the one with the algae farm. Chuck glances around in the darkness, seeing the Terran slashed up against the low bed frame, arms curled around legs and face hidden away. Simone? The Callie chirps softly. The Terran stirs as if woken up from a light slumber. Oh shit, I thought I locked the damn door, she slurs, as she attempts to get up, but only succeeding in knocking over empty glass bottles. The bottles clang loudly as they topple and roll away from the clumsy Deathworlder, who can't seem to find her feet. The Callie watches the bottles in shock, uncertain of how the Terran could have snuck in so many, and keep them hidden at that. Chuck cautiously approaches the purposely self-poisoned Terran, who shamefully covers her own face. Nah, Chuck, you don't want to see this. Leave, Simone warns.
What happened, Simone? What's wrong? Chuck presses. The Terran's face scrunches as she batters the air in Chuck's direction to dissuade her from approaching further. Nothing, Chuck, just fucking go, please, she begs, as her voice volume pitches erratically. Maintaining their respectful distance, Chuck moves around to the Terran's front. With her hoof, she kicks a bottle away and sits herself down. You don't have to say anything, but I'm here for you, the Callie informs boldly, ignoring the inebriated plea. Simone curls herself back up, but keeps her eyes trained on Chuck's. Gradually, her expression shifts from annoyance to anger to an intense threat, hoping that may scare the Callie away because even in this stage she dared not get physical. Although clearly not enjoying this treatment, Chuck fights her screaming instincts to remain seated. Not looking away is the hardest part, but she needs to show that her word isn't something so easily backtracked on. Simone is in pain, and she needs someone in this moment. Witnessing the determined Callie stay in place, Simone feels a sting of guilt take over her heart. The Terran's threatening gaze breaks and glazes over into a horrified sadness. Her shoulders quiver and shake as tears burst free. I killed him, Chuck. Oh, all of them, Simone admits in harrowing howls, hiding her face again in her legs. Chuck leans back, slightly watching, as the Terran makes sounds like an injured animal. The most formidable creature she knew, one who faces death more often than any had any right to, is cowering? Wordlessly, the Callie crawls forward to the distressed Terran's side and sits herself back down. The Terran, noticing her too late, tries to flinch away, but she can only manage her foot before slamming into the wall. Don't. You're not safe. I can't hurt you, Simone forwards in an inebriated panic. Never experiencing this odd sensation of being feared like this, Chuck thinks back to all her studies on Terrans. There must be something that can help, at least a little. Her bright red eyes scan her surroundings until an idea forms. Reaching over, she grabs a heavily battered pillow. Dragging it as she crawls, she swings and lifts it up for the Terran. Squeeze this, she orders rather firmly. It takes a few moments, but Simone accepts it between her arms and crushes it with all her might. Her eyes close, trying to snuff out the burning within her. It's not working. Then as her grip begins to lax, a blanket is draped around her shoulders and tightened towards her front. Forearms find their way around and embrace her. The death hug on the pillow picks back up in retribution. There, I hope that's a little better, Chuck whispers soothingly. In response, the Terran's emotional dam completely gives way. Her sobs and yowls erupt from her uncontrollably. Fluids drain from all her facial features. Tears, snot, sweat, and drool all begin to stain the blanket. Why am I still here? Simone screams into the pillow. Why? Chuck tenses, wanting to reply, but remains quiet to allow the Terran to vent. I had no other choice, but... Oh, stars their faces, they should have stopped me. I fucking killed them. Her voice hollows raw, allowing the sobs to fully take control again. Chuck wishes she had an operational lens. She could look up exactly how to help more. Instead, she moved her hands up and down Simone's shaking back, trying to greatly express her presence. Noticing a minor reaction from this, she takes a gamble and continues. Slowly, the delirious sobs reduce into harsh huffs, then dwindle down to rough, staggering breaths. The Terran's energy is spent, leaving her eyes glazed and still. The rubbing of her back is all she allows herself to focus on. It's familiar. It's a message to her heart that it's okay to come back down. Glancing around, Chuck knows what must happen next. Do your best to stand up, she orders softly, as she pulls away. Finding nearly no strength left within her, Simone's first attempt is pathetic, not even lifting her ass up off the ground. I can't lift you up. I need you to stand, please, Chuck presses. Head swimming from alcohol, Simone nods and tries again, using the bed frame to sway out to her knees. Her vision escapes her own focus, and she nearly plops back down from nausea. Chuck braces her to the best of her ability to prevent it. Almost there. I'll do my best to help you the rest of the way. Try not to lean on me too hard, okay? Chuck encourages. Resuming to say nothing, Simone pushes up. The exertion nearly causes ethanol bile slurry to fire forth, but thankfully the bedframe is spared that fate. Doing her best not to put a reflexive hand on Chuck, Simone stands, though clearly not for very long by how she sways. Good job. Now take it slow and focus on staying upright. Let me guide you, okay? It's a short trip, filled with close calls. Every time Simone starts to lean on Chuck by the littlest bit, she overcorrects the other direction, nearly toppling over and dragging the Callie with her. However, by the miracle of the stars, they make it to the unused quarters across from Simone's. Chuck promptly guides her to the fresh bed, allowing the Terran to fall on it like a sack of thachions. The Terran's eyes flicker shut,
and a soft slumber growling soon follows. Chuck sighs and leaves for a short time, before placing the procured medicine, a notepad, and a small object on the desk by the bed. She then hovers over Simone, using a lower limb to brush head hair away from her open mouth. Could be a choking hazard, of course. Chuck then leaves the Terran to rest and prepares herself to venture back into the mess to start cleaning up. Not only did she want to help out more, but it's a good distraction from the concerning words Simone confessed. She knows her mind will wander without further context, and she knew the last thing she needed was any pestering doubt in Simone's intentions. She is a good person, but was she always such?